back to the Drone Champions League. I'm Matt Andrews and this is race day 15 of our first split for 2023. We have the best drone racing teams in the world competing for the World Championship title. That happens at the end of the year. Right now, we're lining them up to see who's going to make it to our finals very soon. X-Blade's currently on top, just ahead of Quad Force 1. A little further down in the dangerous 6th place are SDT Perpetuumcoin. That's the cut-off point for our finals. So let's see what happens between those teams today. Quad Force 1 from America, racing with Burkan, their captain Propsicle, Leviathan, and Proximo. They had a great battle last week with China Dragons, but they lost it. SDT Perpetuumcoin from Spain have Sea Sky, Silvio, Danube, and Blessed. Their battle last week was a bit more one-sided. They lost 4-0. All of our matches are a best of 7. Each of these teams will race their pilots starting with a 1v1, 2v2s, and then when we've seen everybody, we'll have a 4v4 featuring all of them. And if a team hasn't won this 4-0, we'll continue with more 2v2s and a 1v1 if we get that far to settle the best of 7. And our location for this week is the beautiful rocky cliffside of Pulpit Rock in Stavanger in Norway. It was the home of our World Championship finals last season. It takes a few hours to get there in real life too. Let's go racing! Quad Force 1 and SDT Perpetuumcoin. We're going to start off with Propsicle against Silvio. A weaving track, this one, with a lot uphill before then a big dive down a cliff face, but it's not straightforward, of course. We are the World Championship. None of these tracks are easy. Here's the climb, and then dip through that gate and head down low to this one before a little bit further up again. Silvio just a little bit behind Propsicle as they weave their way through the fox ear pair there. Then you climb up some more. Now you're about the top of the cliff. A few gates to find yourself through here before the cliff edge awaits you to dive. Head through this DCL gatebook by coming backwards through it. 3 arches there and then a blind one down this dip. There's the 4th and Popsicle just a little further ahead of Silvio as he looked just a little bit hesitant coming out of the 3 gates. Under this hurdle, hard turn back on yourself and around this slalom here. Then some gates in a fairly straight line but up and down over the rocks. There's this Torval one and another one awaits you, but don't get too low on those rocks in between. Here's a ladder, go through left, turn all the way round. Silvio doing a brilliant pre-turn, making that very quick for himself. And he's 2 tenths behind Propsicle as we go on to the second lap. There's our gates over the water. Here's the climb. How are they going to go? Silvio looks like he's veering a little further away from the Propsicle's route here and turns it into a good speedy attack through it. The gap hasn't really got any bigger or smaller. Silvio pre-turning again at both of the fox ear gates. That's good. He's caught up Propsicle now. Half the gap. It's just 0.1 of a second between the two of them, and we're midway on the second lap. The dive is coming after we slalom our way around these. Now let's have a look at that turn up backwards through it into the tunnel. Silvio a little bit wide again, a little bit wobbly again. He's rolling around a lot more than Propsicle is doing. Nevertheless, hanging on to him. Propsicle under the hurdle to turn back tight and make his way around this cone. 2 tenths of a second between him and Silvio. Coming through the Torval gate, the straight line stuff. Silvio going a little bit higher there than he did on the first lap into the ladder. It's a fairly straightforward one in DCL terms. It's just in and then a left-hand revolution and out through the bottom. And it's 3 tenths of a second. And it feels like Silvio's just trying to attack a little bit more aggressively now. Oh, he's just gone a bit wide into that gate at the start of the third lap. That's cost him quite a few more tenths now. He's a whole second behind Propsicle with not much chance to do anything about it unless Propsicle makes a mistake and helps him get back into the competition. Good pre-turns again. You see how he's going through them by turning before he reaches them. That's a good attack by Silvio. All of our pilots will be trying to do that. That was a very brave one there as well. He's throwing his drone at all of this scenery now, trying to gain on Propsicle. And maybe a tenth has fallen, but there's quite a few more to go. Propsicle leads him through the 4 gates here. He'll turn around the pylon and head for the hurdle. Trying to turn early underneath that. It's not bad from Silvio, but not as aggressive as he could have done it. Here's the roughly straight line bit. Not a lot you can do here other than see your opponent just a little bit too far out of reach at the now. Here comes the ladder. Silvio's in, Propsicle's in and out and heading to the finish gate.
Too easy.
That's fine, bro.
Muy bueno, tío.
Nah, muy bien. O sea,
Leviathan reckons that was too easy for Propsicle. He didn't make any mistakes, and Silvio was in contention if it wasn't for the bump that he'd had on the way round. Look how close those drones are. Both pilots getting a fantastic start. And an aggressive takedown that little rock turn there. Silvio, only really one big mistake for him. It was this part on the start of lap number 3. Kept it out of the water, but unfortunately just lost too much time and was unable to close that gap. Propsicle flies again with Proximo, his teammate, against Danube and Seasky for SDT Perpetuumcoin. Seasky, a bit close to the rocks there, a bit too close to the second gate. That's cost him a lot of time. He's now a second behind. It's up to Danube if he wants to do anything about the blue drones in front of him. Let's go on board with him as the climb up the hill happens. Here's the first of the Foxy gates. That's a big pre-turn. Look at that. Had no sign of it as he went through it, as he'd already turned. That's the sort of thing you've got to do. And he's managing to get very close to Proximo now. Hardly anything between them. It's just 0.02 of a second. Danube trying to get and stay in front of Proximo. He's turned far too early there as he was heading to the DCL arches. That sent him behind his teammate Seasky, who had that big bump earlier on. So they are both now 1.5 seconds and a little bit more between the two drones of the Americans, and this is only the first lap. So you would think maybe plenty of time to try and catch them up, but truthfully, the way Propsicle flowed that first race, he's going to have to make a big mistake if anybody's going to get anywhere near him, including his own teammate, Proximo, who's also a second behind. Propsicle is on to his second lap now. Danube coming in quick. This is looking a little wild, just the same as the first lap for Seasky. Caught the drone onto the gate in the same way. Cost him even more time. Propsicle's going to have this race in the bag. Unless Seasky can try and do something about it, but 1.6 seconds is ages in drone racing terms. And at the moment, Seasky is trying to get past second place Proximo. So that's a good battle forming between these two. Seasky is very low. Those rocks could well trip him up, but he's all right for now, although there's Proximo just on the outside of him still. He was out of view for a moment. That's because they were side by side. Now heading down through the rest of the arches to the pylon turn here. Seasky a little bit higher that time than Proximo. Early under the hurdle is good, but Proximo is still ahead of him. And Seasky chasing. Into the first of the gates on this section. This is the straighter section, with nevertheless the rocky risks of going up and down over it. And Seasky's hit that now. So Propsicle away. It's almost 2 seconds between him and Proximo, his teammate. And then the green drones of SDT just can't seem to close this gap and get anywhere near them. Here's Propsicle showing us how to go up and then drop down through that gate over this rocky one before you head back up again. Then it's the Foxier pair here. He pre-turns nicely. Had a bit of vision on the gate. Kept himself safe out of that. This looks very smooth for Propsicle. He may be just holding back a few percent here. He'll know from his teammates that he has a huge lead. Proximo's in second and can say, look, I'm 3 seconds behind you. I can barely see you as it is. And Propsicle had some rough races last week. The whole team struggled a little bit against China Dragons, ended up losing to them 4-3. And you could see pressure building, particularly on Propsicle, the captain. There's a few mistakes here and there, cost him some points. It was all calm on the China Dragon side. It was a bit rough and shouty on Propsicle and Quad Force 1 side. But this looks like they've got everything in check, as this is clean racing and a second point for Prop.
Easy.
Good fine.
It's a lot quieter on the Quad Force 1 side. We're used to our American friends being very loud and proud when they're winning and when they're egging each other on to score points. Right now they're 2-0 up, and Levi still thinks it's easy. We've got a few more races to go. There's the noob just getting caught out on that turn as he was trying to gain on them, and Seasky passes him. Here's Seasky getting caught out on the straighter section as he went too low through that gate. Did manage to recover it though, kept in the right direction. Propsicle through the arches. Look how smooth he's flying compared to the green drone behind him, which is swinging around a lot. And there's a finish. So now their other teammates race for the second of the 2v2s, and it's Leviathan and Birkin against Silvio and Blessed. That's a solid start for everybody. There was only 500ths between all of them as they reached the first gate. And now as they make this turn, we'll see them all spread out and take different routes up. Leviathan is high and wide, Birkin a little flatter and into the gate as he tried to laterally cross through it. That's cost him a chunk of time. Silvio and Blessed have Leviathan between them though, as they continue weaving their way around the mountain here. Silvio fractionally ahead of Leviathan, Blessed just behind. Levi reckons it's been fairly easy watching his teammates Propsicle and Proximo in the first two races. Well, you've got green company here. Blessed is very low to the ground, giving this full throttle forwards, full send, trying to keep up. Bit hesitant on that turn. It was safe, but it wasn't aggressively quick. So he's still behind Leviathan, who is 0.2 of a second behind Silvio. And we're still on the first lap here as we make our way on the straight section through all the rocks into the ladder. 1, 2, 3. All good there. Birkin is 6 seconds behind, so we're not expecting to see much of him for the rest of this race, to be honest. Levi's view here. He's in second. He's into the gate that Sky and Danube both crashed in the last race. Not so easy, is it? We're 6/10 behind and hitting the top gate now. Oh, he's lost even more time. The green drones are just stretching away from him. He's a fantastic competitor, though. You know, he's charging after them now. Okay, through this DCL gate. And he's gone inside the pylon. He's missed the turn. He's had to go back and complete it. That's cost him 2 more seconds. 3 more seconds. Oh, the green drone. Silvio and Blessed, half a second between each other. And then a chunk of time. Rocks and rocks of time before Leviathan and Birkin are anywhere near them. Look, they're not even in the same picture now. And we're only on lap number 2. SDT have got to be telling them, right, don't slack it off too much, but play this safe, and this point is in the bag. Blessed follows Silvio, half a second between them, still turning nicely early on that ladder there, and heading now towards lap number 3, around both of those pylons to the first of the lakes. All good here. The second one is what's been catching people out, and they're all right on this turn too. Leviathan, 4 seconds behind. Birkin, 14 seconds behind. He's had no end of problems trying to keep up in this race. Silvio leads Blessed, half a second between the pair of them, still going as quick as each other. Round the slalom over the top of the rock face, the dive was coming up. Down we go, on board with Blessed, who's now 0.2 further behind Silvio. So the gap fractionally bigger between them, but it's not going to matter. I don't think there's any danger of Leviathan catching Blessed, and if he did, he's still got Silvio to race after in order to get the point. Blessed just making a little correction there, but he's got time in which to do it. Stay away from the rocks, SDT. That's the first time we've seen a blue drone in the background for some time now. Into the ladder, 1 section, 2 sections. This is all good. SDT will be very pleased to pull 1 point back against Quad Force 1.
Qué bien,
Bueno.
gente, qué bien.
Bueno.
Buen ritmo.
Nice.
How does Leviathan feel about it now?
Sorry.
He's sorry, but it wasn't just down to him. Birkin didn't feature in that race at all. Silvio gets 1 back for SDT in the greens. This is what we saw at Birkin at the beginning, and then he got caught out on that rock, and his time just got bigger and bigger after a few more mistakes on the way round. Leviathan was in second in this high-speed chase for a long time. Blessed at this stage on the second lap was still only 0.4 seconds behind the lead, and Leviathan was still in the middle of that, but that pylon there had to go back around and do it, which is the correct race strategy to do, but lost him a load of time. So what happens when we send all 8 of these pilots around Pulpit Rock together in the DCL Big Heat? Chaos might be your first thought. Let's see, whatever it'll be at high speed. 8 different routes, up the hillside now, 0.3 of a second between all 8 of them. Back down on board with Sky, behind all of his teammates at the moment, and behind most of Quad Force 1, down in 7th or 8th place as he is now. Still very close, still very much in contention. None of those early race nerves that has caught people out and made them hit a few obstacles earlier on. 6/10, 7/10 of a second between all 8 of them. This is very close indeed. Into the DCL tunnels we fly on board with Danube, who's trying to move up past the Quad Force 1 drones in front of him. It's currently Propsicle leading them, and Levi has just caught him up too. Danube is weaving very nicely here and getting closer to those blue drones in front of him. His teammate Silvio is the green one that's up ahead in second. And Danube has captained the team for a few years now, so he'll be wanting to help out. Early turn on the ladder. Caught it on the back side before he made it through the second section. Danube to the back of the race. Propsicle out in front. It's Silvio who is leading the charge for SDT, who's still in the fight here. We're with Leviathan as he makes his way very flat towards this gate. Very flat indeed. Hit it, bounced far past it, can't find his way through it. Now he's 4 seconds behind and out of contention. It's still Propsicle, his teammate at the front. Silvio, 0.009 of a second behind him. Underneath him, alongside him, all around him, just trying to turn earlier than him, going for the dive earlier and just maybe nudging into the lead, but almost crashing after that turn. Oh, it was so close, just for a moment. He had the lead, but also nearly for a moment he was putting it into the ground and out of the race. So the chase is still on. This is Birkin's view. Silvio, he can't see him. There, he's dropped down in front of him now. Yes, Silvio is still ahead of you, Birkin, in third. Then it's Proximo and Propsicle. Birkin swings over. Oh, far too early for the ladder. Had no sight on it at all. He was hoping he'd line himself up for it, but that's a mistake. That's pushed him behind a lot of the SDT pilots. Danube is still far, far behind at the back. Everybody else is in third, fourth, and fifth. It's still Proximo out in second, and half a second between him and the leader, and it's on to the final lap too. Silvio is running out of time to try and catch the pair of them. Feels like he's getting a little bit closer, but he's 0.8 of a second behind Propsicle. And Propsicle has really got this track dialed in, it seems. He won the first 2 races he was in today. His 1v1, 2v2. Now is he leading his team to another point here in the big heat. Silvio is just a tiny bit closer to him. We're on board with him to see his chase. It's good on all of these turns. Is he going to do a really early one here? It's not bad at all. It's still 0.7 of a second. Doesn't look like he's going to close it because I don't think Propsicle is making any mistakes today. Proximo, his teammate, hasn't managed to catch him either. Is the ladder going to ruin anything? Silvio goes in very early, but Propsicle's got it sewn up. And another point for Quad Force 1.
New PB.
There we go.
Good flying.
Not bother you.
SDT felt like they were in for that one, but the point eluded them. Propsicle makes it 3 from 3. This is why he's the #1 pilot in the DCL at the moment in scoring points. 37 race wins, and that's not even counting today's. Sea Sky hit that gate. Danube catches the bottom of the ladder coming up. Leviathan was in contention as he rose up across the cliff face. You see how flat he is on his approach here. Just can't get through the gate from that angle. Couldn't get through it the second time either. Silvio's chase had a bump here and there. It would have needed to be a flawless run to catch Propsicles. That's a great bit of racing from him today. So Leviathan and Proximo have Danube and Blessed in race number 5. And Quad Force 1 go into this with a 3-1 lead. So Danube and Blessed, they know they have to win this. And Blessed has hit the gate on the lake. What is with that turn and SDT? They really don't like coming through there. Maybe they're thinking ahead about the climb that's got to follow afterwards. That gate has caught them out again and again. Danube needs to make sure he's not thinking about the last race where he was so far behind. He's the best chance SDT have got in taking this best of 7 any further. Leviathan coming to the drop now. Heading down to the DCL gate that you turn and come back through, and he's too shallow on that one. It's like the gate he flew through at the top of the cliff. He's just come at it from the side, not gone far enough past it to then turn and go through it. That sent him to the back. It's not happened for Leviathan today. Proximo, the other pilot for Quad Force 1, currently in the lead. Danube a little bit closer to him. And Blessed not too far behind, 1.2 seconds. The way these races have been going, any bump from anybody and Blessed could find himself right up there at the front. Can Proximo hang on under the pressure of Danube? Can Danube keep the pressure on? Here's that deadly turn. Blessed just caught it, bounced through it. So he's managed to make it. He's still got Leviathan behind him, but Danube has got to get closer to Proximo. Let's take a look. Proximo now maybe just saw Danube in his peripheral vision, just a little bit on the outside of him. Knows he's close. He's only 0.02 of a second away. Over the top of the cliff. Now the early turn here into the slalom. 0.02 of a second still. Danube still with Proximo. No quarter given as yet. Proximo far too deep into that turn. Turned a little bit too far back, tried to rescue it. Hasn't worked. He's lost 0.8 of a second, and Danube halfway through this race finds himself in the lead. Under the hurdle, Proximo hot on his heels. Leviathan is chasing Blessed for 3rd and 4th. And in the distance of them, you can see Proximo ahead and Danube just a little further ahead of that. Leviathan in the ladder there. It's not good. Saying it was easy at the beginning is something he is going to regret. It's coming back to haunt him. Proximo at the lake and that gate again. Now he heads up with Blessed next to him. He has to realise it's 2 green drones that he's contending with. Blessed is the one alongside him. Danube is the leader. 1.3 seconds. I think Quad Force 1 have been hit by so many things here at Pulpit Rock. Is it going to be Danube who gets the point and continues this series? It's looking like he's the best bet of getting round it without any more mishaps. Proximo makes the turn. That caught him out on the last lap. 1.16 seconds behind Danube. Blessed has caught him and moved in front of him, and maybe that's put Proximo off as he has just smashed it all over the rocks now. This point is surely SDT's. Can anybody bring it home? Danube over the water, blessed with him now. 1 second between both of them. They're not taking it safely around the ladder at all. They're just heading for the finish gate and get that point safe.
Qué buena, chaval.
Buena, buena, buena.
Qué buenas.
Buena, buena.
Shut him down, prop.
Propsicle said, I've got this, boys. Proximo said, shut him down, Prop. Danube took that race and dragged the point out of it. So the other 2v2 features Birkin and Propsicle against Sea Sky and Silvio. There was a good encounter between Propsicle and Silvio at the beginning of today in the 1v1. Do we get to enjoy that again? Sea Sky has made it through the lake turn, which caught him out earlier on. Ahead of him is Silvio and Propsicle. It's a little bit wayward on board with Sea Sky. Still in the race though. It's aggressive, low level flying, and maybe a little bit too low. So Silvio will carry on in second again. Propsicle in front of him, Birkin just behind him. And Silvio has really come into his own this season. He's been absolutely fantastic for SDT. He's third in the leaderboard. I mentioned Propsicle's our #1 scorer. Silvio is third, which is brilliant for SDT Perpetuumcoin. One of the newer teams in the DCL prior to this year. And a team who really, for a long time, couldn't contend with any of the other teams and barely scored a point against them. This year, they are really having a good run of it in our leaderboard. He's still ahead of Burkan for now. Burkan, early turn on the ladder, has messed up his approach on the ladder. He got through the first one. He had to double back and clear the second part of it. Just dropped him a second now. Behind Silvio, we're on to the second lap. Still very early in this race. Propsicle still in the lead. And remember, a win for Quad Force 1 here, whether it be Propsicle or Birkin, that'll be 4-2 and they'll win this series. They need to win this series to try and hang on to X-Blades, just ahead of them at the top of the leaderboard. On the other hand, SDT Perpetuumcoin found themselves in 6th place after 2 teams passed them last week. That was China Dragons and the new team Cyclone Racing. So SDT Perpetuumcoin need to get a few more points out of this as we are in week 15 of an 18-week season. The gap's been 2/10, 3/10 for quite a time now between Propsico and Silvio. The hurdle's good for both of them. Silvio's not gaining on Propsicle though. That gap just got a little bit bigger there. Propsicle was tighter around the hurdle. Silvio a little bit lower to the ground, but that's not going to make up a lot of time. It needs to be the technical turns where Silvio takes a chunk out of Propsicle's lead, and he's not managed to do it yet. Propsicle flying so well here. Silvio with a nice pre-turn there. That was lovely work from him. Now the route up. Is he going to follow Propsicle? Try and get it over to the side and cut through the gate. He does. Propsicle does it a little bit better. Propsicle heads up the cliffside to the Foxear pair of gates here with Silvio still tailing him. It's really good flying from both of them, but that gap isn't getting any smaller. It's still hovering around half a second. Propsicle for the dive down. Silvio trying to make this cut early. Does a good job of that. Cuts it by 1/10 of a second. It's now just outside 4, but that's it for Silvio. Onto the floor, rolling around. Manages to get it going in the right direction again, but he is 3 seconds behind Propsicle on the final lap. Birkin finds Silvio close to him for a little battle. But Propsicle is 3 seconds ahead of them, attacking the ladder and heading for the finish gate. Birkin isn't through the ladder. Propsicle's got it done for Quad Force 1.
We'll be seeing ya.
I'm literally the best in the world at this game, dude.
You literally
Fine,
are
bro,
right
good
now.
fine.
Ah, tío, me la tuve que jugar en la bajada.
SDT are gutted there. Propsicle reckons he's the best in the world at this game right now, as he said. Leviathan agreed with him. They really needed him today. Sea Sky was a little bit too hasty early on in that race. Caught out on that pair. Birkin had a few bumps. This when he hit the ladder, had to come back round for the second part of it, and that cost him some time. Silvio was putting the pressure on for as long as he could. And to be honest, kept the quad going in the right direction there as best as he can on the way down. Propsicle was just all clean, all out in front. Well done, Quad Force 1. Not an easy battle around Pulpit Rock at all. Silvio and Danube tried to hang on to them, got a race win each, but Propsicle got 4 more to his tally. All the points for Quad Force 1. That keeps him at the top of our pilot leaderboard. Elsewhere, Alpha Prop Racing beat Mac 1. Raiden Racing, the current world champions, and just behind Quad Force 1 in the leaderboard, they got a win. X-Blade's got a better win at the top of the leaderboard, and China Dragons 4-1 over the Wildcard team. That helps them stay in 4th place at the moment. Ahead of them, the reigning world champions Raiden Racing. Quad Force 1 still second, now a tiny bit more between them and X-Blades, who are out on top. As for SDT Perpetuumcoin, they remain in 6th behind the new team Cyclone Racing. However, 5th and 6th, they both go to the elimination stage of our live finals. Nobody wants to be in those places. Back to Lake Zurich for race day 16, where SDT Perpetuumcoin have a real tight fight coming. Elsewhere, it's all new teams against our established teams from the last few years. Are there going to be any upsets? Thanks for watching the Drone Champions League. Join us for race day 16. We'll see you there and in the skies.